Hi everyone, welcome back to the part 2 of upgrade parts for TM Glock 17 Gen 5. To begin the part 2 of the video off, we have the Pro Arms Marie 17 Gen 5 MMS Serial Code version here on my desk. We're going to go through the installation process to see what it's like, how difficult it is, and how it works. So in the kit, you'll include the slide and a aluminium barrel as well. So put that aside for now. And as you can see, I've already kind of half disassembled the pistol itself. So all we'll be swapping out is the blowback unit. For me, the sight post as well, because we've got some really nice tritium night sight. And we're just going to go through the disassembly process. If you haven't seen how we get to this part, do give part 1 a quick watch as well. The link will be below the video. So yeah, we'll get straight to it. First of all, by disassembling the 2 screws in the back here. Again, this is in part 1 of the video to show you how to put on the adapter plate on. So once they come off, the adapter plate and the optic will come off all together. Now, if you have the stock version, of course, you've got that extra plate to go, but it's fairly easy to do. Now, we've got to remove the bolt catch, the metal bolt catch that is on the slide. Because being a plastic slide, TM has done this really nice thing where they included a metal plate in here so that the bolt catch doesn't wear out the plastic upon firing. So it's a long screw, small screw, very fine. And then to remove this piece is literally lift and pull. And there's your plate. We'll put that aside. And from this point onwards, there's nothing really retaining the blowback unit to the slide anymore. Now, I've tried this a couple of times. It is quite a bit of a pain in the ass. As I've done this for TM's FNX F45. Same with the Glock units on the newer gens. The slide itself is kind of self-capsulating for the blowback unit. So what you have to do is actually you do have to bend and warp the plastic slide ever so slightly to get it out. And I know to some viewers, if you want to do this at home by yourself, it's kind of daunting. You think you're going to break it. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You might, but if you do it gingerly, should be fine. So kind of the technique I've developed is you kind of just pull back both sides a little bit, and then you just pop one side out like so. The good thing with the MOS cut is that you can actually just very carefully push on the nozzle itself. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. So we just push from the other side, just pop it out a little bit. Like that. I find it easy to pop out the, which side, how can I say this? The right hand side, if you're looking down the side. So yeah, right hand side out first, and then pop the left, then wiggle the right again, and you eventually will get somewhere. Actually, I probably would recommend to get this springy part out first. So by just lifting this down a little bit, the top bit here where for your stock TM where you have that plate, this is the hook-on mechanism. So just make sure you don't lose the spring on here, because sometimes due to ping off. So after we've removed that, we'll just get back to wrestling the blowback unit out. Unfortunately, there is no easier way. If any viewers have developed a technique that works for them, please leave a comment. I think that would be to everyone's benefit, even just from a maintenance point of view. You know, some days it's easier than others. Here we go. So once you get it to this stage where it's pointing down, you can then wiggle, push it down, wiggle it out, like so, and it comes out. Hallelujah, it's finally done, and then this back plate comes off as well. So now to remove the front and rear sight post, you can see that there's two screws right here that's holding the rear sight. We can just go ahead and undo those and remove it. Here we are. Now, some of viewers might be wondering how you're going to get to the front sight post screw, because you can see it is hiding there and you have no direct access. So this is on quite tight, but don't be afraid. You can see that there is actually a two-piece material. So this is metal, whereas this bit is plastic. You can literally just hook your finger and pull down, and this metal piece comes out. And in this way, you can get access to the front sight post screw and just unscrew it. Try not to lose any washers in the process. And then that's your TM plastic slide completely disassembled. We'll put that aside. Now here we have the nozzle. In this one, I have already installed some upgrade in here. So you will see that the seal is nice and bright red. And I have a stronger nozzle spring as well, which I will get onto in the later part of this video, how to install them and how we put them in. Right, so now we'll move on to the metal slide. Here we are. Very nice aluminium slide. So we'll do in a reverse by putting on the iron sight first. If you will stay on straight. Awesome, and just screw them down. And then exactly the same with your front sight post as well. I should mention now that be mindful when you're putting on the front sight, because you have no idea how many people that I've seen that has put the sight back to front and without realizing it, after they've put everything back together, and you then look down the side and it's like, something's wrong here. So yeah, just be mindful of that. I'm just going to put the washer on first before I put it on top. Tip the screwdriver and then feed it through. Here we are. Right, happy days. So now the optic is on, looking good. Now we can just reassemble the back, slide this plate back on, and then get the blowback unit to be put in. And I will say, the metal slide, putting in and taking out the blowback unit is much, much easier. So everything should just click in place here. And mustn't forget the part where we put this optic cover plate, so we can leave a little bit of a gap. That's what I like to do, and then slide this part in, make sure the spring is catching on the blowback unit, and then just push it back up. And then just give it a test. If it's pushing, give you that spring tension, then it's all good to go. Right, so that's looking good. I'm seeing some, this is the first time I'm putting this on as well, so coming along for this journey. I'm seeing that the blowback unit actually is not sitting quite well on this on the slide. I'm going to try to show this. If it will stay in focus, there we go. So here you can see that it's lifting ever so slightly off the rail. So that's going to be a problem. Might just be a tolerance issue. So we're just gonna see if this will help. It is looking a lot better. Right, we'll carry on and then just put on the optic. And then screw down the 2 screws that we took out. Here we are. Right, so we'll get the metal plate back in as well. So you just slide and push down. Yeah, that seems to be going in. And the slide is sitting. The blowback unit is sitting in the slide quite well now. Right, we'll get this screw back in. Not really budging. It's not going in. Aha. So the screw on the slide itself is actually smaller than the screw that TM provide you with. Now that could be an issue. Could be. I'm thinking, because that's in quite fit as a friction fit, we might be able to get away not using that screw. We'll give it a go. At this point you could just put in the front, the barrel assembly. That's quite smooth, that's good. And spring guide. At which point we'll get the lower back in view and it's quite smooth. Doesn't seem to be any issue here. We'll just give it a quick test shoot. I'll put in the dry fire adapter. It does kick quite nicely, and then we're just going to test that mag catch, see if it works. Right, so that seems to be working quite well. Right, so a bit of conclusion about this slide. It looks lovely. There is quite a bit of a wobble compared to your standard plastic, where there's not a lot of sound happening, but it does look lovely, and it does add quite a bit of kick to the gun itself. And it now is a very respectable weight. Very, very respectable weight. And, you know, just sounds a lot better as well. So, yeah, I'd recommend it. I will need some time and testing and using it to let you know a full in-depth review of how I feel about this slide. But for now, it's holding up quite well and looks awesome, feels awesome. Yeah, I'd recommend. Forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video. another upgrade part, external upgrade part that I'd like to talk about is this flared Magwell. Some eagle-eyed viewers might have seen it already on my gun before, but we're gonna do this in a one-er. One is to show you how to take off the lanyard at the bottom of the pistol, and the second part is how to install one of these. Now again, I got this in Boom Arms on the Boom Arm website, so I'd highly recommend, if you want one, go check them out. Now, if you have a Gen 5 or you're looking to buy a Gen 5, some of the Gen 4 I believe have this as well, especially the TM one, is that it has already got a flared Magwell. Now this just adds some more flair to the flared Magwell, and it's also just a, you know, aesthetic thing as well. So first of all, let's take off this lanyard. Move this out of the way. The reason I've got two pistols on the desk right now is that because this one is only needing the lanyard off, and I'll put the flared Magwell onto the other pistol and show you how that is done. So first of all, we've got to take off the back strap if you have one on it. If you don't have one, then that's all good. And secondly, you will see two screws on the inside in here. It's just normal Phillips. So we'll take that out if I can find the screw, or potentially not using the right screwdriver here. Still not the right one. We'll get to it. And here we go. So we just unscrew them too. One out it comes. And the second one out it comes. Just a tad more. Does not want to come out. Give it a little helping hand. Okay, so a little bit more, I guess. I'm feeling it to be completely out, but that's fine. We'll just go ahead, and then the entire thing just pulls out after you've removed those two screws at the bottom. One thing to watch is to make sure that your spring doesn't ping off here. So just make sure that this doesn't fly everywhere, and then that's how you remove the lanyard holder. And then now you can put on your flared mag or whatnot, and then you can put the base back on like so. Clicks in, put the pin back in, and that all sits perfectly. Happy days. Now, I should say at this point that if you want to run a thicker back strap, you can't use this particular aesthetic upgrade, because, as I'm going to show you how to install it here. So I've removed the lanyard. To install this, you slide it in from the front. You slide this in from the front. Because of the Glock's already slightly flared pistol grip, you just slide it in, and then this will clicking at the rear, like so. Might take a little bit of persuasion. Here we go. And that it is on. So once it's on, this particular model will come with a grub screw. You just put that in and screw it down. Once it's no longer protruding and it's tight, this is not going anywhere. But as you can see, if I want to put on a thicker back strap, you can't do that because of the design of the flared Magwell. I've got a small hand, as I say. This is a perfect grip, and this looks and feels awesome. Extends the flared Magwell just a little bit further out, and in my opinion, it just looks great. Okay, so here we have the Detonator threaded outer barrel. So I bought this because I wanted to run a tracer unit, same as the Laylax one. So the So here we are, we have the detonator threaded outer barrel. I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video as well, because parts keep on arriving middle of working on videos. But yeah, so this one I bought because I wanted to see how this compares with the 9-ball one. So here we have the detonator threaded outer barrel. I completely forgot to throw this in the beginning when we were listing different parts. To be honest, I forgot I had this. This did, however, though, cause me quite a bit of a headache in between figuring out how to get this working. So I bought this thinking it will be a straight swap in and out with the detonator slide kit, which comes in this nice packet, and I'll get into this in a bit. Is that this is, you know, this looks great. This feels great. Got a bit of weight to it. Aluminium, solid construction. So I was like, right, let's throw it in, and that's what we're going to do now. We're going to just put in the. This is a stock TM pistol. We've got this in. Well, we better take the thread off. Here we are. Throw this bad boy in. Put the guide rod in. And close the clip up. And, you know, it works great. Fits the... this is the brightest C. You know, no problem whatsoever. I put a pistol in. Fine. Yes. Now, the problems start happening when I want to use something slightly heavier. So if I screw this on, you can start feeling that this is a lot more sluggish. It might not translate on video very clearly, but you can see it kind of, just then, it kind of got stuck. So I started thinking about it, and I was like, is it going to happen? Okay, well, let that go through. So that slide return is very slow now. Still will work just fine. Now, if you're running a metal slide like I am, it will not like it. And I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate that. So we're just going to take all of this. I'm going to keep this together. And here's mine with my metal slide. Just put that aside. And then we're going to put the thread barrel in. Use my upgraded spring. This feels great. But let's see how this fares with a tracer unit on. Look at that. Stuck. And this is the lighter of the two, and it gets stuck. And that's really disappointing if I'm, you know, wanting to use the metal slide. And the reason is because that you can see it start wearing down already on the tip here, is that once it goes inside of the slide, roughly at about this position, the metal slide constraints on the metal outer barrel, just tolerance issues, you know, and it gets stuck. And also the fact that the barrel ever so slightly likes to tilt up a little bit and is getting caught on the front where the spring guide is. So loads of issues, and it doesn't like it. So the detonator threaded barrel, although it looks absolutely mean as hell, you know, especially with the metal slide. I want to use it with the metal slide, but I can't, which is really disappointing. On a stock TM, if you want to run a metal slide with a thread adapter, you can run it, but in my opinion, I do think that the 9-bore version is still a little bit nicer, but if you do want the markings and that, Detonator is not a bad shout. And if you are running like really light tracer units, it will work. It will work. But yeah, I personally, I think I'm going to stick with the 9-bore. This next part, we're going to look at the CowCow enhanced piston head and the 130% nozzle return spring. So I've gone ahead and disassembled everything for you already, as shown in the part before when we swapped over the metal slide, how we can get to the blowback unit. So now we are, here we go. So now we're going to dive into how to get these parts swapped over. So first things first, we can see by pulling forward the nozzle, there is 2 screws right here. And all we need to do is undo them. And they are relatively easy to remove. We'll just undo the 2 screws, and then we should be able to take the nozzle off from the blowback unit. If that screw would cooperate, that would be awesome. And that's not happening. We'll try this one. Here we go. Much better. Every single time I pick up a screwdriver, it's like a roulette. Will it work? Will it not? One of them days is going to all come together. So the blowback unit comes off right like that. We'll move these out of the way. And then you get to the nozzle itself and your piston head. So now, some eagle-eyed viewers might have already seen, there's a silver pin here. So all we need to do is remove the pin. We'll push the pin out like so, and then the entire bit falls out. So this is the rocket valve for the pistol itself. This pretty much determines your pistol's FPS output and regulates that. So we'll put that aside alongside with the nozzle. And this is the part that we're really interested in. So at the front, you can see you have the stock seal, and we can just peel that off as such. And that comes right off. Now, the spring is held in by a little screw down at the bottom. So we basically need to get a small screwdriver and just get in there, unscrew the screwdriver. Screwdriver, unscrew the screw. There we go. And like so, it all just comes out. So here's the old part and in with the new. For everyone's, for viewers' discretion, if this part does come off, it's fine. It's meant to come off. Some people might be like, oh no, I've broken it. But no, it's fine. It's all good. So I like to start by putting on the new nozzle, new piston head, and then you literally just lift the rubber seal around here and sits on nice and easy, just like this. Here we are. So obviously the profile matches up with the rest of the piston as well. So now we are going to install the 130% nozzle spring. So the purpose of the stronger nozzle spring is to make the nozzle return back to the blowback housing a little bit quicker. And that means paired up with a potentially short-stroked slide or a stronger guide spring, you can put faster second shot on target, much faster. So we are just going to feed the screw through the spring like so, and put it in at the bottom and screw it back down. Now, I will say before you totally screw it down, I like to just think ahead a little bit. So as you can see, there is there's the hole for where the pin goes through, and the pin goes through the tip of the spring as well. So you want the spring to sit with the flat end oriented down at the at the 6 o'clock direction. So when it does go in, it can kind of line up with where that pin is. So for you to do that, you're going to have to turn the actual little ring up to about 2 o'clock direction. So now when you do tighten it down, it moves to the 6 o'clock direction roughly, like so. So now it's tight in there and is at the 6 o'clock direction. And that is what we want. Now, to put everything back in, there is a little technique to make your life a little easier. So put the spring onto the rocker valve like so, and inside you can see that there is a profile that you just match it up, pop it in, and it will go in quite nicely. One way to see if you put the rocker valve in correctly is you grab a screwdriver. I've got a pin puncher, and you just give it a push. If it goes all the way down, you've got it right. If it doesn't, then something's snagged. So like that, in the little window, you can see that it goes all the way down, then you've got it correct. And this is when I like to put the pin in, actually. So I'll just put the pin in just about the tip, and then I'll push the rocker valve in all the way through, and then I'll push the pin halfway through, and that locks the rocker valve to where it should be. And as you can see, there is on the rocker valve itself, there actually is a channel cut out for where that pin goes. And now I'm going to line up the piston head. So I'll put the piston head in, and then all the way in. You can actually, I don't know how well this shows on camera, you can actually see the silver loop of where that spring is. And now what I like to do is grab my very fine tweezers and just get in there, and you can actually grab a hold of that ring and hook it on to the pin. With a little bit of finessing, you can do it. Oh, what an encouragement for myself. I can do it. And that's it on. Once you think it's on, all you need to do is just pull back out here. If it springs back in, then you've done it. So now that is all sitting nice together, you push the pin all the way through, make sure it sits flush, and that's your basic installation finished. Now at this point, what I like to do is to grab a little bit of silicone oil. I use Super Lube, and just slather up the piston seal with a bit of a silicone oil, bit of lubrication, harms no one. Now, be careful not to over lubricate your parts. I've seen this way too often where people think, oh, lube is great, lube is good, put lube on everything, over lube it, and then seize up the gun. So if you don't know, if you put too much lube, it will act more like a glue than a lubricant. So don't overlube your stuff. Now, to put it back onto the blowback housing, literally it's exactly the same way around. You just push it back in. Maybe you need some help, need some persuading. Just lift that piston bit in, and then now you can see it will match up with the two screw holes all over again. And now we just very gently put one and screw back, screw it down, put the other one in, screw it down, make sure they're down properly. Like so. here we are. So now is your nozzle installation finished. Right, we're going to go ahead and test the upgraded piston head and the nozzle return spring. So we're going to get a base first. So this is a complete stock Gen 17 Gen 5 loader with 10 rounds on a full gas. I'm using the Ultra Air. So we're going to give it a shot and see what the readings are like. All right, so 10 shots, 189 to 179. That is pretty consistent actually. So we'll go G17 Gen 5 TM stock. Happy days. So we'll clear that. And in here we have a upgraded one. I'm gonna give it a shot. So again, 10 shots. Okay, so our upgraded version, we're just going to save it. So G17 Gen 5 TM upgraded. Right, so let's see our record. So stock, we dropped to 279, and there's the drop as you can see in the graph. And then let's go back to our upgraded one. And we actually went up a little bit, so that's less of a drop, I believe. So we started off 289, 295. Okay, so we started higher. We actually started higher. Our difference in FPS is minimum. So our max average 288, average 282. So a little bit higher average. Max at 289, 278. Let's see what else we can see. So joules 0.7, 0.7, 0.8. Oh, that was the one I just clicked on. So 0.8, 0.7. So a little tiny bit more consistent. But you know, it's the FPSs went up a hair as well. So in terms of actual benefit, in terms of the upgrade seal, I'm gonna say probably about minimal. It's probably one of those things that I would get in your gun once your seal is gone from, you know, over time usage, the rubber decay over time, and then if eventually gives up. And you start seeing a massive FPS drop, and that's when I would say, okay, get one of the CowCow upgrade seal. But from a brand new stock TM Gen 5, there's no real difference when it comes to FPS consistency or increase of FPS. Like the difference is minimal, really. So yeah, that's what I would say about the seal and the nozzle return. You know, they all both fed great, no issues whatsoever. I think, like I said, if you want to upgrade the spring, is really if you want to short stroke your pistol, or if you have a stronger return spring for the slide, and you just need to pump out more beeps per trigger pull, not per trigger pull, pump out more beeps quicker. And that's when I would upgrade the spring. Okay, so a conclusion on you know, the upgrade part for TM Glock Gen 5s, the Glock 17 Gen 5s. Honestly, for a gun that's come out relatively you know, new, there's plenty of parts out there for them, but for TM, honestly, and I say this to a lot of the customers that comes to me, is that if you buy a TM, internally, there's really not much point swapping bits out unless they break. And I honestly would recommend that you use them until they break, and then we get replacement parts for them. Stuff, perishable stuff like hot rubber, you worn through it. Potentially, barrel, if you want to get more accuracy, a little bit of more FPS out of there, put a tighter bolt in there, that's fine. But stuff like, the nozzle return spring and the piston head, they really are just perishables. So a lot of the upgrade parts out there are more like replacement parts for them. Because we all know, in good TM spirit, they don't make replacement parts. Externally, you can stick with the standard Glock 17 look, or you can go for this or this. There's a load of different variations that you can do with the Gen 5, and I think there's plenty parts out there for it to make it your own. For example, I really do like mine. It is absolutely beautiful piece of kit. And also, some viewers might have realized by now that I never really got into the Detonator metal slide. And the reason is because I never managed to get it to work. And the issue, as I found out, is a tolerance issue from their factory. So the slide itself is very high quality. I really like the look of it, and it's really a shame. I put it together and then tried to make it work. Couldn't figure out why initially, but after diving in, I did find out that it's a tolerance issue with where the channels cut. More to do so how deep the blowback unit is actually sitting in the slide. I will include a couple of photos on screen right now. You'll be able to see for yourself why it isn't actuating the trigger reset. Hopefully, I've never done this before, but hopefully the photos cycled through themselves now. But just to show everyone that when the slide flies back, when the trigger is pulled, when a slide flies back, the slide really have to catch on this bit. And that's your trigger reset, okay? Like you see here, if I push it down, it sets down and the hammer can be reset. And you pull again. So without actuating that, the hammer doesn't stay down. So you have a dead trigger. And that's what was happening with the Detonator slide, is that I'll pull the trigger or fire once and it would get stuck. And I'll be sitting there wondering why. And after close inspection is where the rail comes back to reset this bit isn't actually touching the trigger reset bar. There's really nothing I can do from my end to try to resolve that issue. I'll get in contact with Detonator and just let them know the issue, and hopefully they will fix that in future models. But for now, if you're looking for a metal slide, I highly recommend this one I've got on mine, which is the Pro Arms. The Pro Arms one is really good. And maybe more brand will come out with a slide for the Gen 5. And until then, we'll see. Right, thank you very much for watching the video. Do drop a like, a follow, and let me know any questions that you have in the comment section, or if you had your personal experience with some other upgrade parts that I've not come across yet. Do drop a comment, and we'll start a discussion. Thank you very much, and see you next time.